When you attach something greater to it, then the money flows differently, and then opportunities, and then creativity comes. So it's just like the synergy between the ideas, the curiosity, all of it kind of works hand in hand, and then the resources come so you can continue to expand what it is that you're doing. And again, that's my personal experience, but that's what gets me up every day.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Experiment Nation just had a gentleman who was locked in, busy grinding, and then had an awakening moment that this wasn't it. And if this is you, or you're finding yourself, exchanging your time for money, paying all these bills, and then getting to a point where you pay all the bills and you realize, what did I do spending all my time paying these bills? Hopefully you do not want to get to that point where it's too late, because it's never too late, but you want to get to a point where you do have that paradigm shift. And this is a paradigm shift that we received today from Jay Cameron. Cameron was able to do this as a real estate investor. He had a landscaping, snow removal company. He built a lot of these assets over time, and then gave him the flexibility and option to go ahead and travel and see the world, and what he calls helping people wake up. And the reason it's so key is because we all get stuck in our bubble, whether it's your neighborhood, whether it's the country. There's, a mind that is expanded can never go back to its old dimensions. And it is so key for you to expand different experiences, whether it's for different people, different communities, different state, different city, different country. This is what this gentleman has brought to the table, and built a multi-million-dollar business doing this, in addition to the real estate and all that he does as a speaker himself. So if you're looking for something to unlock and kind of free you from the mindset, we unpacked being on the grind. We unpacked the branding of Africa, how it's so untapped and sometimes poorly branded strategically. We talked about the mental due diligence that you need to do, helping yourself wake up before you can help others wake up, and then more importantly, being a global citizen of the world. A mind that has been expanded can never go back to its old dimensions. And I trust that that will be you after you listen to this episode. Tap in and enjoy. All right, let's rock. So I want to free flow into this one, because I usually, so just to give you a little background, Jay, when I first started this show, was very heavy on, I started the show because I was interested in becoming a real estate investor. And over time, it's evolved into a lot of different areas. It's taken me a lot of different parts of the world as well. But originally, I'm Congolese. Lived around in France as well, first generation. Moved around the U.S. Moved around in Canada. I mean, been a lot of different places. And I have to say, being exposed to different areas, different cultures, has really kind of it's something that I don't take for granted, right? And when I first started the show, it was very similar in that sense of, I started the show to, people say, hey, I want to get in real estate, but it's what kind of real estate you want to do? Flipping, you want to do you want to do
Right.
wholesaling, you want to do syndication, right? All that stuff. So the show was meant to introduce others to different types of silos and experiments, that they could hear from others that have walked that path, right? Not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. So then you can then say, you know what, I'm inspired by that, or I'm aligned by that, and I'm going to gravitate towards that. And so that's how I started the show. And then it evolved, and we got short-term rentals, business owners, non-related to real estate, etc. So then we rebranded to In the Lab. Before it was called the Real Estate Experiment. So when I say I'm in the lab, I'm cooking, because I want to understand kind of the mindset, the ideology behind the person. It always reflects in their business, truly. And when I look at you, I see, a lot, right? Not only I admire the fact that you've, really traveled the world, right? I mean, I'm looking at it, but most importantly, you went to a lot of different places here in our motherland, 48 countries worldwide, 25 African countries, but you speak, do real estate, etc. So I always like to identify who the person is. So if I ask you, what do you do for a living? What do you typically go to? Does it depend where you are in the world? Does it depend who you're speaking to? Because I'd love to see you. I feel like you've kind of embodied yourself with so many different avenues, and you've offered so much to the world that I'm so curious as how you identify yourself, or what is your identity as a as I have you here in the lab. What do you say?
Oh, that's a loaded question. And as far as identity is concerned, a lot of people have referred to me as a serial entrepreneur, but I think it's deeper than being an entrepreneur. I think entrepreneurship comes as a result of being a global citizen. And I've not always been a global citizen, but I've been someone who's never wanted to be contained within a box. So there you have the desire to go and learn and explore. But typically, whenever I go somewhere, I see entrepreneurial endeavors or ventures that are possible. So it's how I make my living is really by pursuing the curiosity that's within me. And so I'm always finding opportunities when it came to writing children's books. That's because I said, well, how can I take my experiences and now share that with a younger generation that might not necessarily understand the depth of some of the places that I've been to, just because of being on a different maturity level, but still wanting to share the experiences with them and spark that curiosity when it comes to traveling. I used to run a summer camp for 12 years. And so now when I take adults, some people say, well, Jay, you're going to do your summer camp again? I said, well, it's going to be kind of tough. But I said, I've never really stopped doing the summer camp, because what I do is take adults or take people on adult international field trips. So it's a lot of that goes into it. Real estate is definitely a part of my portfolio. I've been involved in real estate for more than 25 years. I've done rehabs. I've done rentals. I'm a real estate investor in Ghana. I'm a dual citizen of Ghana as well as Sierra Leone. And so now I just really focus on being a global citizen and extracting as much as I can, but also contributing just as much as I extract. And so that's really the beautiful part of what I've been allowed and afforded the opportunities to do.
What are you most excited about, Jay? Like, what gets you out of bed, you would say, with what you just said? Because I hear real estate, I hear children's books, I hear taking adults on adventures, summer camps. Is there an underlying theme there, or is there one thing that you're currently exploring your journey where you're like, oh, man, I'm really fired up about this? What is it?
It's helping people to wake up. Because I'm from the U.S. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I was raised in Washington, D.C. And so growing up in both of those areas, in essence, many people live within a bubble within the U.S. And we kind of have this U.S. superiority complex where we believe that we are the best of everything, and everything else in the world is subpar. And there's nothing else that the world can, or we're supposed to be the saviors of the world. And whenever we go, we need to take shoes and clothes and books and some sort of other means to help everyone else. But what I discovered when I started traveling is that I was the one who was deficient. While there were a lot of great things in the US that I was exposed to, there were so many other things that I did not have exposure to. And I knew a whole lot of other people who did not have that exposure. And because of that, now it's like, let me be this bridge, because, there are certain narratives that are told to the rest of the world about those of us in the US that are either true or untrue. And vice versa. There are narratives that we're taught in the media portrays within the US about the rest of the world. And so some of that is true and not true. So when people have a chance to see for themselves, what it does is it gives them the ability to really see it, have a firsthand account. So that's what wakes me up when I see someone, whether it's a child or an adult, and they go to a part of the world that they had, never thought they would visit, or always wanted to visit, but they were afraid to go. And they go and they see something different, and they have an experience that they would not have otherwise had they not had that opportunity to travel through us. So, that's what gets me up every day. The money doesn't get me up every day, although it's not that it's unimportant. It's just that that's not what motivates me. It's the results. It's the impact that happens. And that's why that's what does it. Because sometimes you can make a lot of money and that won't get you up every day. Sometimes some people are like, well, I want to have that problem. Some people say, I want to, But what happens is that when you attach something greater to it, then the money, but in my experience, the money flows differently, and then opportunities, and then creativity comes. So it's just like the synergy between the ideas, the curiosity, all of it kind of works hand in hand, and then the resources come so you can continue to expand what it is that you're doing. And again, that's my personal experience, but that's what gets me up every day.
I love how you said that. It's funny because my mentor says, there's three things, a human, or a man or a woman, whoever needs to feel that fulfillment. He says it's connection, creation, and contribution, the three C's. And it's interesting, to hear you say that because, like, of course, you can have the money, but do you feel like you're contributing to something? Do you feel like connected to it? Do you feel like you're creating? We're meant to create, right? And it sounds like definitely from your experience, you definitely get an opportunity to check a lot of those boxes. But what was it before that then? Was it always like that? Obviously, it seems like you've gained a lot of insight. Oh, what was it before? When you think of a paradigm shift that maybe you have or you want to give to somebody else before you travel to all these places, before you were able to provide service and then be able to be compensated for it, what was the old paradigm? And for someone who's in that same situation of perhaps your old self, what would you tell them that they should, focus their energy on?
Wow, that's a great question. The old paradigm was being on the grind, just kind of doing the everyday routine, getting up, going to work in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through the weekend, the same routines on the weekend, same restaurants, same streets, same environment, same gym, same everything, same culture, same social network. That was what life was. And I had no interest. I really had no interest in traveling to Africa because the way that Africa was portrayed to me, well, everything was negative. I mean, poverty, corruption, illness, all these different things that just were not inviting. Why would I want to go spend my money to go to Africa if everybody there is in need and everybody there is sick and poor and dying and everybody's corrupt? Now, notice I'm generalizing, and my mindset was a generalized mindset. Not that this does not exist in different parts of Africa, but it exists in the different parts of America. So, so these are things. My mindset was so limited, but then I was also gripped by fear of the unknown. I was afraid to go to fly. I was afraid to go see, afraid of getting kidnapped and all these different things. So it really kind of kept me in a mental prison. And that was the paradigm before. And then as I was getting older, I said to myself, if I don't do something different, because I got tired, I was on the grind, just doing the same things. I'd reached a plateau in my career, had a lot of successful business ventures. And pretty much that's what I said. Money doesn't mean everything, because I was making money, was far from broke, but it was like there has to be more to life than paying bills and doing this same routine. So that's when I said to myself, I've never been to the continent of Africa. I've been to the Caribbean. I've been to the places that I thought were so-called safe, but I've never been to Africa. And the label that they give many of us who descend from Africa in the US call us African American. But when you call us African American, but we can't really, most of us really don't have a connection to where in Africa, to understand the history of the continent, to understand the opportunities. Because what happened, I would hear, there's a scramble for Africa. Europe is coming into Africa. China's coming to Africa. Everybody's coming to Africa. But I couldn't form an accurate concept of that because I'd never been. So I decided that I was going to push past my fears in 2018, get on a plane, and go see for myself. And mind you, I'd been invited to South Africa before, and I didn't even want to go to South Africa. Now, if you don't even want to go to South Africa, it's like not even wanting to go hey, you just, you can't even go to London. You can't even go to Atlanta, at that point. Yeah. So I decided to do it, and I did it afraid because the fear didn't go anywhere. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, okay, I'm not afraid, and I'm going to Africa. I was very afraid, and it was because of my own misconceptions and the different narratives that I believed with minimal information, but I did it anyway. I got on the plane, was nervous. I was excited. I was like I think I was the only person at that point in time in my family that had gone to Africa. Everybody else been to Canada and everywhere else. Yeah. So flying over, never been on a plane 10 hours. So I'm pushing past my fear of flying. I'm pushing past the fear of the continent of Africa. Didn't even understand that there were more than 50 countries. So here I am thinking, oh, I'm going to Africa. And just thinking this big old,
This
I knew there
large
were countries.
plot of land,
Yeah, I
no
didn't,
borders.
I didn't even, it was bad. And
Jay,
so,
I want to unpack your Africa, the brand of Africa and your African kind of expenditure, for lack of a better, or your expansion to Africa, I should say. But I want to just make sure something doesn't slip in the cracks that you mentioned before we get too deep, right?
sure.
You talked about being on the grind, right? And we're gonna get to the Africa, because like, I really want to
Nah,
unpack
this
that,
is
right?
good. This is good.
You talked about being on the grind, and I think that's really important for us to hear. But I want to push back and maybe just from a perspective of devil's advocate, and maybe I'm wrong. So just you help me out here. You're experiencing this, and you've helped others experience this. When we talk about being on the grind, is it that is it hindsight is 2020 that you know, I was on the grind and it got me to an opportunity where I could then travel and explore? Or is it more of, you can be on the grind, but there's a better way to be on the grind? Can you help unpack that? Because where I'm going with this is I always have this conversation, even with my loved one, my wife, and everything. I'm surrounded by amazing, people in my mastermind and etc. You talk about sacrifice or dedicating yourself to a craft or working on something so that it doesn't feel like work, but or the 10,000 hour rule, right?
Oh,
To
yeah.
of mastery, right? Can you get to that place without the grind, or are you saying that there is a better way to grind? I want to unpack that because I think it's really
Yeah.
important, right? You got Gary Vaynerchuk talking about hustle, and then you got some other on the other side saying, work-life balance, and then you got some others saying there is no balance in the beginning. Maybe there's a season of imbalance until you can get the thing to then give yourself and your family what you want. So when I say that to you, what's coming to you, and how do you react to that?
All of the above.
All right, let's
Everything you said.
unpack it. Let's
Yeah,
unpack it.
because the reality is that there are periods of time in your life where you do have to put in the sweat equity, the grind. You have to put in those extra hours. I go back and I think into my young adulthood, and I would work literally 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day. Some days I'd work 28, 30 hours straight. And so what that was doing was that was giving me experience. While it was not the highest form of compensation, I was learning. And so it was really preparing me for today. So the grind always, everybody's grind is different. And so people would even consider what I'm doing now a grind, but it doesn't feel like what I was doing
Mm.
before.
So let's talk about that. Did you
Yeah.
do you so is there a better way to grind, or is grinding sacrifice? Like I just because I think
Yeah.
it's so important, this topic, that we talk about mental health now, but then you also come, we talk about the motherland, and people work hard, right? Like and
Do.
anybody who's achieved something great works hard. So let's can we just I want to hear, like, what is your hindsight with all the wisdom that you have now, right? Telling your younger self, how should I have grinded better? Or is it part of the journey? You got to grind. Tell me.
I personally believe in my experience that it's a
Yeah.
part of the journey. Now, I
Yeah.
could have done it better. I could
Mm,
have probably had a little bit more balance in there, a bit more discipline, but I think that also comes with maturity. So there's
mm,
certain things I didn't know. I wasn't exposed to certain pieces of information. I didn't go through certain things. So now there are things I will never do again. I won't tolerate.
mm,
There's some business relationships that I probably should have cut off sooner than I did, but
mm,
because I didn't know any better, or I was dealing with my own internal issues and insecurities, I kind of held on to those relationships a little bit longer than I should. But to your question, the grind, depending on what level you are operating on, I see that everyone has a level of grind. Whether you're in college and you're the top of your class, or you're going towards a particular career goal, there's a period of time where you have to put in that work. And then it's, you know what I equate it to? Whenever you see a plane take off, or if you remember the space shuttle, when the space shuttle would take off, it took an incredible amount of energy to get it to a certain cruising altitude. And once it got to that cruising altitude, then the engines could power down, and then the momentum and the forces would keep it afloat. And so that's the same thing in my experience in life, where there's a certain amount of energy that it requires to get to a certain level. And once you get to that certain level, all of the experience, all of the knowledge and insight that you've gained along the way is what helps to propel you and to keep you at that level. Now, of course, you know, there's certain things that change along the way, and certain things that are out of your control. But what I would say to my younger self is to pace it out a little differently, to learn and to really get some mentorship. That's what I would have done instead of trying to figure it out on my own. And a lot of times that goes back to ego. That's why I get some mentors. I would say, let's see how we can shorten this learning curve. I'm willing to pay for it. I would not have operated I would tell my younger self, do not be afraid to spend money to learn and to live. Not be afraid, because so many of us, we count the cost without counting the cost. And sometimes we lose more because we're not willing to spend more. And that's the thing that happened in my life. I said, the philosophy I live with now, if it can shorten my learning curve, and part of that's because as you get older, you realize that you don't have the same amount of time. So if someone can teach me and accelerate the process, then I will pay you. And if it's thousands of dollars or whatever, if it can propel me to making millions of dollars, then hey, let's cut to the chase and let's get it done. So that's just some of the nuggets right there.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think mentors that would probably be my go-to, even in the smallest things, like to give you an edge, and just expedite the process, right? It's, they say time is money, but time is not money. I think, time is your life. Right?
It's your life.
That's really what it is, right? You're paying with your life. What's the opportunity cost? I want to, so thanks for sharing that. I think that's very insightful. I want to go to what you talked about, right? So one of the things you said is, obviously, getting the mentors, etc. What was the lever that you think at the time for you kind of gave you the most momentum? Was it a mentor? Was it not a mentor at the time? It sounds like mentorship is hindsight, but what was the thing? Was it real estate? What was the thing that really, you said you're on the grind? Okay, great. What changed? And was it gradual or was it instant? And because sometimes people have this instant thing, that's why sometimes there's like traumatic events that turn into I'm going to change, or sometimes it's everyone's story is different. It's a gradual, you know what, I'm starting to see, and now I'm going to go for this direction, right? So what was it for you that changed the trajectory of being on the grind to there's maybe a better path that I'm taking, and what avenue did you turn to?
Sure, I was getting older. So as I started getting older, I said, I haven't seen much. I've spent so much time working in this bubble, if you will, that life is passing me by, and I don't want to have a bucket list. I don't want to get to 60, 70, 80 years old. Health, now, I'm not saying that health will be failing, but I see a lot of people, as you get older, the health starts to decline, and then you don't have the same level of energy. So when I realized, I said, my birthday had passed, and I said, if I don't do something different, nobody else is going to do this for me. And that was the moment. And it was gradual in the sense of me actually like applying it. But then again, it was kind of instant. It was kind of like, well, you know what, if I don't do it, it won't happen. And so I decided that at that point I was going to start traveling. I was going to confront the fears. I didn't know what was on the other side of travel. I never set out to start a travel company. I never sought out to be a dual citizen in these countries, or to be a children's book author, or any of that, or real estate investor in different countries. That was not the plan. It was just something inside said there has to be more to life than this. And not that my life was bad. It was just routine. And it was the same routine. And I had.
What was the routine at the time?
It was just, it was working. It was every day getting up, doing the same thing, looking at how much money was coming in. What's the next project? What's the next? And so it was that repetitive lifestyle every day. And then the weekend comes along and I'm tired. So I really don't want to do much on the weekend except sleep, maybe go out to eat. And then it started all over again. And so all I could see was really what was around me in my geographical region. And thinking outside of that, it was something I had to be very, very intentional about. And I had to be very, from the culture and the social network that I came from, they were not into travel like that. They were very content with kind of watching the football games and the basketball games every week.
That's it. That's your bubble. That's the bubble, which is what you talked about breaking, right? Helping people wake up out of their own bubble. Experiment Nation, you've heard me talk about how multiple investors across the nation are landing these lucrative midterm rental insurance contracts by making these small tweaks on the branding and marketing side, especially if you're an existing short-term rental operator. There is a quick and easy shift that you can make with the ride guide in place. And because we've launched a 2-day boot camp that not everyone could attend in real time, I've put together a recording where you can get all the materials and all the guides to focus on rebranding either your short-term rental business or your current midterm rental business, so that you can actually have the insurance companies reach out to you. And then day 2 is if you want to actually play offense, how you can reach out to them by listing on the right platforms, etc. If you're looking to get this MTR bootcamp so that you can start optimizing and you can start receiving these lucrative contracts that again provide less headaches, less turnovers, unlike the Airbnb space, you can start receiving inquiries today by having the right guide in place. So please go to experimentrealestate.com/MTR bootcamp or click the link in the bio to make sure you get your hands on the midterm rental insurance bootcamp to fast track your way into landing these lucrative insurance contracts the exact same ways multiple investors have taken advantage of this unknown and untapped niche within the midterm rental umbrella. I want to get right into the fear stuff and the Africa, but before I do, I think it's important sometimes. The reason why I'm getting into the weeds here is I think it's helpful sometimes to just hear someone else say, "Hey, I was in your shoes too, and here's how I was able to navigate out of it." It would be helpful if you could share maybe what currently at the time, how did you because some people have this idea and it's at the back of their mind, and again, to your point, I think they should get a mentor, because a mentor can say, here's what you should do. Obviously you can't give blind advice to anyone who's listening because you've never met them, but in your case, when you think of kind of where you were at, what was, birthday came, you're like, all right, this got to change. But then people start thinking, and this is how people, I literally had a post about this on social the other day where I said, one of my biggest things my mentor told me is don't ask how, just decide what, right? But for someone who's listening tactically and they might need a little bit of like, yeah, but like how, right?
I get it.
What, because, some people just think that way, right? Was there like a parachute? Was there a lifeline? Like, how did you structure it? What kind of job were you working? Did you save X amount and then you said, I'm going to test it, experiment, fail, learn, repeat, right? For me, it's like experiment, proof of concept, get some feedback, then go. Did you just leap cold turkey? What was that transition like, so people can hear that? Because I feel like there's definitely someone who's listening right now who's going to resonate with that, but then they're going to get hung up on the how, and then the how is going to just kill their dream. So what would you say to them? And then possibly what can you share with us that was incremental in you being able to take that leap, and even tactically possibly for someone who might need that?
Oh, great. That's another great question. All right. So I run a landscaping and snow removal company in the Washington metropolitan area as well, at that point in time, as well as a summer camp. So my income was seasonal. Then I have passive income, real estate investment. So I have that going too. So all of that was happening at the same time. And my overhead was low. All right. Nice. So let's put that in. My overhead. There you go. Overhead was low.
That's so important. People don't talk about it enough.
Yes, that the overhead
trim
was
the fat.
Trim the fat. The fat had been trimmed. House paid off. All these different things. So, but that was part of the grind. So I had goals. I wanted to get things set up in such a way so I could have some freedom. So I knew that there was a window within there. And now let me say this: even for the person who, house doesn't have to be paid off, and everything doesn't have to line up perfectly. And sometimes what we'll do is we'll overthink it, or sometimes we'll be so um, focused on our bills that we forget to live. And that's what I'd done for a period of time. So I was just focused on the bills, the bills, the bills, the bills, the bills, the bills. And then then finally, when some of the bills started getting paid off, then I was like, wait a minute, I just spent the past 15 years paying bills. What's going
Paper. It's paper.
Paper. And
Paper and
I said,
numbers.
how much life am I missing out on? And so what I would encourage someone to do right now is to write down, or to think of something that you want to do. I was talking about this over the weekend, daring to dream, and who stole our dreams, what cut in on us to take away the childhood dreams that we had. And people started talking about, it was my parents or someone else, my friends, or I started thinking things myself. So I want you to go back to that place of being able to dream again. And now you put that down on paper, or if people have vision boards, and you put that in front of you every day. And then you just kind of look and say, well, now what is preventing me from doing this? And then you attack each thing everything that comes up to say why you can't do it. I don't have the money. Or is that true? Sometimes you have to say, is that really true? Is it a fact that I don't have the money? Or am I not prioritizing it? What if I break this thing down into increments? Sometimes you can't, I hate to say eat an elephant whole, but for lack of better terms, so you can't eat an elephant whole. Sometimes you have to take it bite by bite, or a big loaf of bread, however you want to do it. But you take it in small bites. And if you need to save up for it, then that's what you do. Is some of us have the resources in our bank account where we can go do the things we want to do, but maybe because of different belief systems we had along the way that told us to we couldn't do it, and we shouldn't do it, or we didn't deserve it. All of these things play into us being able to live. So I had to confront that. And as I began to confront it little by little, I gained the financial confidence. I gained the internal confidence to, let me try it. And if I fail, then I fail. I'll learn something. I really won't fail. I'll learn something new, and I'll go to the next level. And so that's what happened. And who knew on the other side of confronting those belief systems that were holding me back? Who knew on the other side there would be this multi-million-dollar travel company? But it's not even just that. It's the experiences, the food. Now, the food that I've tasted. I wasn't a big fan of Ethiopian food, but I went to Ethiopia, and now I love Ethiopian food. Or food, tagine in Morocco, and kafta in Egypt. All these different places that I wasn't even thinking about. And now when I go, it's like, wow, so it expanded me as a person. So I encourage the person right now who's sitting there debating with yourself. Don't count the cost of how much it will be to go. Count the cost of how much it will be if you don't go. If you don't live, what will that cost you? And that's when I realized that, there was no stopping me.
Oh my gosh. I love that. It's funny as you're speaking, it reminds me of one of my favorite books. I feel like every 5 years I come across a book that really just changes the paradigm. This one for this past 5 year trajectory, or I should say 5 year window, was Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't. No, that's next
Ooh,
on
you'd
my
love it.
list.
Bill Perkins. So Bill Perkins was another brother, did amazing for himself as a trader, billions, a billionaire,
Oh, wow.
and very young too. Kind of actually, yeah. So very a bright gentleman, and his concept with Die with Zero, he says, in a perfect world, you die with zero. And okay, what does that mean? Well, all that means is that, going back to what you've been saying, like I'm telling you, would love this book. Um, you spend all this time trading time for money, paying bills, etc., and then it turns into a habit where you actually do have enough to go on that trip. You actually do have enough to probably start the dream, but you've turned it into a habit. So now it's habitual for you to just work and not enjoy the fruits of your labor. And sometimes delayed gratification really leads into no gratification at all. And so his whole concept, which is fascinating, which is exactly what you're saying, is of course you can have instruments in place, like whatever, like it's life insurance, annuities, etc. It doesn't mean like be selfish and don't leave anything for loved ones, etc. You can do trust, you can do all that fancy stuff. It's not that,
Sure.
but it's what are you sacrificing now? Are you optimizing for memory dividends? And that right there, as you were describing the food, I could see the smile on your face. You were kind of going there, but you're also taking me there with you. It's not only the experience that you get in real time, but it's also the experience that you have as a memory dividend with loved ones. And that's something where he talks about the concept of, you know, you can do a lot of things in life, but you want to make sure you get the order right. And you don't want to just work, 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 work. And like you said, maybe in your 70s and 80s, maybe your knees don't work so well and you can't play that tennis that you could have been playing, or you can't climb that mountain. All right. Maybe you can do some other activities like attend a Broadway show, but you got to get the order right. And that's like part of the challenge. So, anyways, I think you'd love it. It's fascinating because it really goes back to what are we optimizing for? And are you optimizing for the right things with the limited time that you have?
Yeah. Well, to your point, when I had that awakening moment, I decided to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow, there you go. See, I'm
I,
telling you, you
I
got
said,
to
I
tap in.
don't, yeah. I said, I don't know if I'm going to, I kind of live in 5-year blocks. I said,
Mm,
I don't know if I'm going to be here 5 years from now. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm
mm,
going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so I did that in 2019. And so I'd never climbed a mountain before. I didn't know anything about any of that. That was not, remember, I was on the grind. But with
yeah.
each step, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I learned something new about myself. I was able to
Mm,
see the world from a different vantage point
mhm,
than anything I'd ever seen before. And then when I finally got to the top, it was like, wow, it gave me the confidence to say there's nothing I can't do. And
mm,
so that's what travel does. That's what living does. When you break outside of the mold of your own fears and hesitations or someone else's fears and hesitations, it propels you to a level to reach your full potential. And so every day now I say, I want to reach and live to my fullest potential, no matter what. So now I'm not walking around, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. It's like, hey, I want to do it. Let's go do it. Let's go live. Come on. And
it's
come on,
already done.
come on, join me. And so now we've taken more than 2,000 people back to the continent of Africa since June of 2021.
Wow.
And that all started with a decision in
That
2018.
you made. That you
Yes. And
made.
that's
All
like,
right, so
go
let's
ahead.
talk about that, Jay, because one of the things you said is helping people wake up, but what I love is it sounds like you need to first wake up first, put the oxygen mask on before you could help others wake up, become the person that's willing to do the thing, to have the thing, so now you can actually bless the people. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it though. Let's go back to the fear thing that you had to overcome. I want to unpack this. I'm first generation Congolese. My father's in the Congo as we speak. He just flew out the other day. He loves the motherland. Why is the branding of Africa just not where it needs to be? Is it just bad PR? What is it? Because from what I know, we have the richest countries in everything, weather, minerals, resources, etc. But to your point, the branding, which branding is perception, an association, is what you said. It's the call the 1-800 number. Look at all these orphan kids, right?
Yeah.
And this is an image that is just put into the image of even our own people, calling it like, there's African Americans in America who have only been in the US and they don't know their
True.
roots, which is interesting because I grew up in different places like Canada, etc. And people always claim their roots. Oh, I'm Jamaican. Oh, I'm Nigerian. But then you come to America and it's like, oh, I'm American. So that's very interesting. But
Yeah.
I digress. Uh, what what is it? What is it? Because I'm sure you must have picked up on it. Is it just that we just don't cover it? The Western world just does a bad job covering, although they don't have a problem kind of going into our country. Like, what is it that you've made out of this?
Yeah.
Like, why did you have fear? Because the fear maybe was warranted, and maybe you're not the only one who has fear. What's your takeaway from this? Because maybe I still have it wrong, and you have a better perspective than I do.
Well, yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out, but I really take it back to imperialism. And
Mm,
so if you have an economic base that you want to continue to feed your economic engine within your country, everybody else has to be bad. So you have to paint this picture of don't go there. We're the best of everything. If you go there, something bad is going to happen to you. So, don't go. Meanwhile, those who know better, they go.
They're
And
tapped in.
oh yeah, they steal all the resources and
Yeah,
they master this thing in such a way, whether it's Europe, whether it's China, whether it's the US, whether it's whoever, they master it. And then what they do, from an imperialistic standpoint, I mean, if you don't have the military capacity to defend yourself, and you're depending on your imperial masters to give you arms in order to protect yourself, they're going to tell you, one, who to put into office, and then how the resources are going to be allocated. So it took it deeper for me to say, oh, this is what this is all about, by force. Now, let's flip it back to the, you kind of touched on a little bit when it comes to many African Americans. You got to remember, for those of us, our ancestors were already part of those stolen resources from the continent. So there's no way in the world you want to have people connecting with their roots, because they're going to want to go back. They're going to want to go take some of that $1.5 trillion back. They're going to want to learn more about themselves. So you create an educational system that gives them an identity. You give them names that are different from their original identity. You put them in a whole host of systems that now create a hybrid of people who now think. Many don't identify with Africa, but they identify with America. And so they say, you know what, I'm American first, and then perhaps maybe I have some African in me. And so it creates an identity confusion. And that's something that I felt as a Black American man growing up in the States to say, wait a minute, y'all are telling me all these different things, but when you talk about equality and opportunity, there seems to be this psychological lid. Even though we can get out here and we have lots of opportunities and we can overcome it, but if you're in a system and a culture of people that have this, and let me be very mindful and careful how I say this, a lot of people feel as though they're victims, and justifiably so. But what are we going to do with it? And so that's what I got to the point of saying, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to be the Black man sitting on the corner talking about the man stole my opportunities from me and this is how it is? Or am I going to go figure out what happened with this whole thing and go create some opportunities for myself with the resources and with the positive aspects that I've been afforded to be around? So it's deep. We can talk.
Wow, this is so good. I didn't even think you'd go there, but this.
Oh, I'd go there. I'd go there.
No, I love that. It almost sounds like, Jay, like from what you're telling me, almost sounds like it's almost part of, we were just talking about this 24, 48 hours ago about the importance of doing the deep work, overcoming the traumas or whatever of any situation. People have situations, whether it's, how they grew up with their parents, etc.
Sure.
It almost feels like that lid that you're talking about, it almost feels like and when I say we, it's even, that's me speaking as an African, who's, grew up here. You almost need to go back to understand yourself even more on a deeper level, because there's almost like been like a severance of
sure.
That's
well, you go back and really understand the broader context of the story. I never understood what colonization did to the continent of Africa. I didn't understand the Berlin Conference, Congo, Belgium. I didn't understand Leopold. These are all the things that, I was completely ignorant to in the US, because they will not teach us this in most of the educational systems. They'll teach us about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and the so-called founding fathers. But when it came to understanding the connection between many of the civil rights movements in the US and many of the movements happening on the continent of Africa, what was going on in Namibia at the same time of what was happening in the US and what was happening in South Africa and Kenya and the Congo and Nigeria and Sierra Leone, all these different places in Ghana, all of this was happening at the same time. So, but if we're disconnected, we think that our stories are so unique just to us. But when I started traveling and I went to South Africa and I went to one of the museums there, and I saw images that looked just like what was happening in the United States. I said, wait a minute, hold on, what's going on here? And I went to Namibia and I saw images of what was happening there at the same time. So it challenged me to understand and to go learn, what is this global imperial system all about? How has it worked? How has the British crown been involved in so many of these different, in the French, in the Belgians, in the Germans? I didn't understand the Germans in East Africa, in Togo, in Cameroon, and Namibia. I didn't understand that because I'm just thinking US, I'm in the bubble, I'm on the grind. So while I'm on the grind, I'm feeding the economic base in the US, I'm losing myself at the same time. And so now, yeah, I'll go look at the Eiffel Tower without understanding the history of the Eiffel Tower. I'll go to Big Ben and want to take a picture of it and look at the British castles and all of that and really think that I'm doing something. But why don't I have an interest in wanting to go come to the Congo? That's the next place I'm going, to the Congo. Why is it that I don't have an interest in going to Cameroon? Or when I hear something about Africa, it's a negative connotation, but that's really subconsciously how I see myself. How I'm now been trained to see myself in a negative context without even realizing it. So I'm proud of my mastery of the English language, but I don't want to learn Twi or anything, no Yoruba or any other language, Swahili or anything like that. Oh, but let me master the English language, the King's English. Let me make sure I speak proper, because now am I getting too deep?
No, this is so good. I mean,
Okay,
you see my face. That is, you want to talk paradigm? This is one right here. That is so good. This is so good what you're sharing. Wow.
It's real. It's real. And this is a brother from DC, y'all. Brother,
Yeah.
I can still talk my DC vernacular. I can still talk my South Carolina vernacular. But when you wake up a person who finally realizes that they've been asleep and they're hungry as well as thirsty, there's no stopping them because they understand the value of expanding their mind. They understand the lids that have been designed to keep them encapsulated. And they say, you know what? I'm not going to let you frame or shape a narrative, because I'm going to do my due diligence, my mental due diligence, and I'm going to study and research for myself. I'm going to compare my notes, but not only am I going to read books and watch documentaries and all of that, I'm going to make the investment into myself and go see. And at that point in time, I can formulate an accurate opinion, a thorough opinion based upon my own firsthand account. And so that's, and again, it's subjective because everybody sees it the way they see it. But I'm telling you, now I can appreciate, when I go to different parts of the world, I go to Brazil, I go to Salvador, I'll go to Rio, and I can see the roots from Africa there, the Yoruba in Cuba. I can go to Palenque in Colombia. I can go to Costa Rica and feel like I'm in Ghana. You know, it's like this connection, it tears down the walls where no one they cannot come back. The Portuguese or the Spanish, everything that they set out to do, I'm now dismantling little by little within myself. And whoever it inspires or influences, that's not, I can't control who it resonates with, but all I can do is control where I go, and understanding the grind prepared me for where I am today. And I guess I'm on a different kind of grind, but it doesn't feel like work.
Talk to him. My goodness. Listen, there's a few things here that I'm going to take away. I'm going to just take, from you, because you planted that seed. First of all, I love how you said it, a mind that's been stretched can never go back to its old dimension. This essentially is what you've said.
Absolutely.
And number two, I'm going to take this mental due diligence. I had never heard of that before. I did my mental due diligence. I might start asking them, did you do your mental due diligence on this topic? Right? Because we often need to do that. And it's funny because it almost reminds me of this framework in thinking that, our thoughts are not our thoughts, right? They're borrowed beliefs, either good or bad.
Yes.
Some of them limiting from other people. And it's so important that it's hard to think of like, well, no. I this is what I think. Is it? Because it's just, but that's the beauty of it too. So let me put a little bridge on this. Speaking of, you talk about keyword connection, right? You kind of, it almost feels like the world doesn't have any borders in a way, right? Because you're kind of, your framework of the world must be so different than mine personally, even because of the things that you've seen. Now I'm curious, some of the things, I've been with a lot of different cultures, etc. Do you see actually that we're closer, or do things seem like, do they remind you of other countries? Are we more like each other than we realize? And I kind of thought about that when you talked about there's things that were happening over here that were happening over there. Like, help me unpack that? Because I feel like I'm getting there, but I don't want to speak something that's inaccurate. Like, what is your key takeaway now that you've seen a lot of these different places? Are we actually closer than we realize? Are we actually couldn't be further apart? Is there just more to see than, are we just scratching the surface and using like 5% of our brains? Just like, we're using only 5% of the world's potential. I don't know. Help me. Take me somewhere here. I don't know where I'm going.
Both there.
Yeah.
Both. I do believe that we're using a minimal amount of what the world has to offer. But yes, we are more alike than we are different. And humans are humans, and we have certain desires that every human being has. I have found the universal language of a smile and treating someone with respect and dignity transcends every culture that I've been in. Even language. There, I went to Brazil. I don't speak Portuguese at all. You might get a bom dia out of me. That might be about it. But when I went there, there was a mother and a daughter and I guess a grandchild that were there. And my tour guide, he was with me, and I just waved to them, and they came over and started speaking to them in Portuguese. And they said, he was saying that your in essence, your energy is so kind. And so they wanted to come over and give me a hug just because of me being just, so there was no language. I didn't say anything. It was the way that I treated them in my gestures. And so everybody's trying to survive. Everybody wants the best for their children. Children play the same way all over the world. There's no difference. If you want to see the similarities, put a group of children together who've not been tainted by these toxic belief systems and toxic environments and watch how they all play. They cry the same. They laugh the same. They all want the same things. And so we as adults, unfortunately, many of us get in these cultures with these biases that taint us. But if you get to the core of who we are, you get the core of who we are, you will see that we are all very, very similar.
Okay, I'm gonna put a bow on this because you're just so easy to conversate with, to converse with. You talked about a playground, and then earlier before you talked about it's like a summer camp for adults, which you've created, right? And essentially the world is our playground, right? Tell me about this phenomenal multi-million traveling business model that you put together, how it works, how does it work, what you see, what breakthroughs you see, how you monetize it, and then how you essentially also build a lifestyle business, because this is Jay. This is what Jay wanted for himself, and you wanted to help other people wake up. So please unpack that. I want to be mindful of our time here because I feel like I could speak with you for
we can. Yeah. Well, it's very simple. When I went to Ghana in 2018, I was ashamed of myself because it took so long, and I saw how I was so misinformed, and I knew that there were many other people around the world who were just as misinformed as I was. And that's when I said, I'm going to bring my people back, whoever those people are. Ethnicity, it doesn't matter. I said, I'm going to bring my people back, those who are interested in learning. Then I learned about the global African community. And I said, the places that have been demonized, that have been misrepresented on so many different levels, I want to focus my attention on taking people to those places and showing them something different. And that's when it started. I created a video, I put it on YouTube and went viral. People started watching it. People said, you know what? I hear your story. It resonates with me.
What was the video?
It was called the Ghana Chronicles. It was called the Ghana Chronicles. The Ghana Chronicles. And so people started watching it. And next thing I knew, we took our first trip to Ghana. 35 people joined us. And then the pandemic came that shut everything down, but I kept traveling. People started kept following my story. When the pandemic released in 2021, that's when everything exploded as far as people wanting to travel. Larger travel companies started calling us, groups started calling us. It just went to a level I could not have imagined. We started producing full-length documentaries, children's books,
Wow.
everything started coming out of it. It was like all of this stuff that was in there. I said, there's no limit. And we want to reach families. We want to reach adults. We want to reach groups. And we've had every ethnicity join us. I should say many ethnicities from around the world joining us because they want to learn too. They said, we've been misinformed. And so that's where it took off. And so now we're excited about continuing this journey, taking people around the world, whether it be through our YouTube channel or whether it be in person. We just want people to see and learn and expand their minds. And that's why I'm so excited. That's why I wake up every day. And that's why it's not work, because this, after all the years of grinding, is the reward. And so I'm appreciative. I don't take it for granted. And I understand that it is a privilege. It's not a right. And so I protect it as such.
Well, listen, it was a privilege to be here in the lab with you today. And I gotta say, it's always nice when you see somebody who's very passionate about what they do. It just kind of just comes out of them so naturally, and that's what this was today. So I wish we had more time, but listen, I want to make sure that I give the opportunity for others who want to be awakened, who want to have to understand that there's another side, right? There's a room for their minds to expand as well as their experiences. Where can they tap in with you and your community to be a
Sure.
part of that, to have that maximum impact?
Well, they can find us at maximumimpacttravel.com. That's, yep, still a .com, maximumimpacttravel.com. Or you can you can type in Maximum Impact Travel on IG or Facebook, or you can follow me at J Cameron Official on Instagram. You type in at J Cameron Official on YouTube, you can see everything we have going on. So that's where we are. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our team at maximumimpacttravel.com. And if you're looking to put a private trip together, group trip, or if you just want to join what we already have happening, you can see everything listed right there on the website. You can follow our documentaries and learn more about who we are, what we do, and I guess you got a good gist of it today.
It was amazing, and just so I have it for reference, how long are typically these excursions that you go on with the community?
Sure. Between 8 to 10 days. And if you want something longer, we can curate experiences. We do have an affiliate program, one of the few travel affiliate programs in the world, the way that we do it. So you can check that out also. But yeah, 8 to 10 days. And we go to more than 25 different destinations. So check us out.
We will definitely be checking it out, and I will definitely be keeping tabs on you, traveling vicariously through you until I can come with you. But we'll continue to expand the mind, expand the world, and continue to capture those memory dividends. Jay, thank you so much for coming to the lab. Just like that, Experiment Nation, we are out.
Experiment Nation, I believe there are two critical components that will help you achieve your goals very quickly and succeed. Number one, it's information like this that you received on a show, in an episode, and content that you can find on my YouTube channel or anybody's channel. And then there's a community. And the way we've been able to expedite our process, the way people in our community, people that we consult, mastermind members, whoever, they get the information on an episode like this, but then they also have a support, whether it's me guiding them or being guided through a community. There is an opportunity for you listening to be able to expedite your process or even expedite your results that you're seeking by being part of the community. If that is what you're interested in, we at Experiment Nation happen to have a community devoted to helping maximize your occupancy and your profitability altogether, regardless of which market that you are in. And for that reason, you have an opportunity where you can go to experimentrealestate.com/submit if you're looking to work in an environment that can help you prosper faster. Call out any areas that you might not be familiar in, especially the blind spots. That's where a guide comes in hand, and I would be a pleasure and honored to be your guide. But in order to make sure you're a good fit, make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com/submit so that my team can go ahead and take it and see if you're a good fit to join the mastermind and the multiple programs that we have. In addition to that, I'm also now a YouTube partner, which means that I want to give you more access to information, more access to Q&As, more access to the questions that actually come out of our mastermind that help people expedite the process. We've seen people get anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to even $7,000 a month net on just one door by applying the strategies that we use by working with corporations and furnished accommodation in a very strategic way. So if you're interested, make sure you also subscribe, because I'm going to have different tiers that's on YouTube now that we've become YouTube partner to continue to be the bridge to your success in your lab. And your lab means your life, your goals, or wherever you're trying to head. So make sure you also hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/real estate experiment. We'll be there. You can also look us up at midterm rental insurance experiment. We will be there. Make sure you hit the subscribe, because that's when you'll know the tiers that are available to you that make sense for you, your marketplace, for your results. Remember, you're only one experiment away. Let's build.